we're going to be covering scenes and overlays in the same video because I can't really demonstrate scenes to you without showing you overlays, and I can't really demonstrate overlays without building it into scenes. So they come together, and this will be a little bit longer video. I'm struggling with this I want to show you what options you've got, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple as I can, but just know that some of these things that we're looking at in here, you might be going, whoa, didn't know we could do that. But I'm putting it in because we're going to give you this at the end. Once I've built this out, I'll save it at the end. We'll make it available, and you can head over to a link that should be in the description when you watch this, and then you can download it your end, and everything we've built, you're going to have. So in that sense, I want to make sure it's pretty feature rich, but we'll just try and walk through it slowly. And as I mentioned in one of those other videos, please feel free to pause this, go back to it, and be working alongside it. You know, that's what I expect to be happening. Now I need to bring these controls back on so that we can see those. And I ought to just show you that actually how you can do that. There's this window up here that says hide main window controls, and it's this tilde. So command and tilde down at the bottom of your screen here makes these come on and off. You need them on for when you're actually working this and going live and different things. But in terms of designing and laying out these scenes, I'm just going to turn that back off, and we can then design this to be able to see what it's going to come out like in the recording or in the live. So the best way I can demonstrate this then is to just build some of these scenes out, and I'll mention as we're doing it what we're doing and how. Now, we've already got here, we started out up here with this default scene, and I think let's keep this as this. If I'm doing a live or I'm doing a Zoom call and I want to be going through Ecamm, typically I'm just starting here. This is just my camera feeding into it. And we can see at the top that the source is camera. And so I probably just would double click this and rename it to say me. And I know that when I look at this afterwards, this is just me on screen. Now we created a second scene, and what I'd like to do is to bring a little lower third into this one, maybe with our name on there. So I'm going to rename this me and lower third. So let's build this lower third. Now you could create one in a third-party tool, but we're going to actually build something in Ecamm. So we're using I'm going to shut some of these off actually. Let's just make this a little bit easier. We don't need any of these right now. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? So we're here in our overlays, and we created this little text one earlier. Let me delete that and start from scratch. So I want my name to appear. I want a little color background behind it. So we're down here in this text box, and notice that it brings up on screen here. This has just remembered what I put in earlier. So I'm going to pop my name in, Adrian Salisbury. And this by default has put a background in. It's put a little shadow effect to my text. And look, I can, all of these different options with fonts on here. Any font that you've downloaded onto your computer will appear inside here. So if you're after a particular font, just head off, download it onto your Mac, and it will appear and be an option. So you can adjust your sizes and things. But let's just go with that and click to add it in. Now, on all of these overlays that we work with, we've got a standard little palette that sits across. So when I move my cursor onto this overlay, you can see there's a little X that appears, and there's a little pencil symbol. Also over here in overlays, look how it says show in current scene. It's a text overlay, and it says Adrian Salisbury. So it's pulled that in. So I could access it over there as well. If I hit the little I, it'll make this appear and disappear. But then when I click this pencil symbol, we can work down this. So the style of this, for now, let's just stick with this dynamic one. We can have a scrolling ticker. We can adjust it so if you're creating bullet points, the text size stays the same. I can take a background away if I want to, and I can take the border away if I want to. So all I've simply got is just this text that appears. Let's build that back in. I can put some color in the background. When I click the color on the side, it brings up this extra window, and there's multiple ways of me. I can just scroll this around to get a color. I can come across to these little crayons and pick one that way. If I click on this one under RGB, if I actually know a hex ref color for this, then I can type it in here. What you'll see as well is that when you choose a color and you like it, you can drag it into here in your palette. So maybe I've come up with a color over here that I really like. I don't, but we'll go with it. I can drag it into the side here, and it's now saved it into my little palette. So these are all my default colors that I would tend to use, brand colors. And we can just play with this, and I might go with this dark red for now. Now, when I've finished, I can either push that to the side or close it. My text margin will adjust how much space there is around this. The border at the minute, I don't have one on, but I could turn one on. That's not bad, actually. We'll keep a little faint border around this. And look at it says here, corner radius. And we've got an option on here. Notice that I'm square at the top left and bottom right and rounded on the other two. And you can see that coming out. That we've just set this, and you can change all 4 to be rounded or all 4 to be squared. Or as you're seeing there, then we can adjust it so that it has a bit of an artistic style to it. I'll leave you to play with that one. Now, this might be minimized, but you've got more options, and you can do things like this cutout text, so it's then seeing through the background behind it. We can adjust the opacity of the whole thing. We can rotate that if we want to. This can be quite nice. I've done this before where we've put some branding and actually put it at the side. You might have just spotted that when I demonstrated that ELA Live one. I'm just going to double click that and bring it back to 0 so we've got it back. What else can I do? Shadow down here. There's a nice little drop shadow. You're not massively seeing that just over my face there. You can see that. And we can do a transition, so we can set this to fly in. What that means is that when I turn this on and off, it'll bring it in. So that can look really nice. And I like the way that we can snap on here. Notice that as I move it into this corner, it gives me this blue box around there. So I know that if I tuck it onto that box, then I've got an even consistent spacing to the sides. If I wanted it to be centered to this left side of the screen, or I can center it into the actual center of the window. The same on the other side. If I want to come up, again, it will snap. So I know that that's exactly in the center there. For what we're doing now, I just want to bring it into this bottom corner. And actually, I feel like I've got those the wrong way around. I like it more. What about that when we've got it square into the corner, but rounded on those other ones? And so, as I say, I could now tick this to disappear and appear. And now I've created a pretty simple lower third at the bottom of here. If maybe I wanted to add another line under this, I can edit the text. And so I can enter down, shift and enter down, and maybe I say Ecamm Live Academy. And I can actually tick on that, and I can change around the font on this one. So it doesn't have to be the same size as the one above. This is also set to be center aligned. So if I decide I'd like to have that left aligned, okay, and maybe I want to change the text color of that one. I'm really kind of playing with this now. Isn't anything that I've got branded up, but maybe we want to go just for that gray on there. So now when I click it, I've now just changed around this lower third. You get the idea. All right, I'm going to leave it like that right now. So we've got this scene up here that is just me. This scene on here that comes on and actually shows this lower third. What I didn't show you actually is that when we're in text here, edit text, one of the things we've got is this line height. So I can adjust this so that it sits tighter, and this kerning will actually adjust. I need to select it. Sorry, but if I wanted to select just that bit there, this will actually adjust the spacing of the letters. So we can create an effect on there that maybe not in this scenario, but it might be that if you were bringing a logo in or branding, sometimes you want to space out those words for being more dramatic. But there we go. I don't think that looks too bad. That's created us a nice little lower third. Now, a third way of bringing me on camera like this, and I'll quickly demonstrate it if I jump up here into this profile and come back to, where were we? ELA Live. Now, when I was in here and I was front and branded, notice that we've actually got this framing and border around. That's what I was talking about, having text sitting on the side over there. So this is a camera overlay with a colored background behind it. Let me show you how we make this. We're going to come back over here to Ecamm onboarding. And we'll stick with this brand color down here with this red. So I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm going to hit the plus. I don't want to copy that one down. And in this one, let's just say me in frame. And I'm going to change the source. So the source in this one isn't a camera feed. It's going to be a blank background. And you're going to see that when I click this, I just get a black window. So now we're going to have a look at an overlay that you haven't seen yet. At the bottom here is an object overlay, a shape overlay. And when I click this, it brings in this rectangle. Again, remember that pencil symbol brings up the menu. This could be a square, a circle, squircle. Rectangle is what we're going for. And what I want to create is a default background color there rather than this black. So I'm going to push it up into the top left, grab this bottom right, and make sure it fills all the way down there. Now, if I hit this pencil symbol, we can change this around. So instead of just a color, we can do a gradient. And let me show you what we can do with this. This is choosing two colors then. We've got the red, and then it's picked a navy. I don't want the navy. I think we could go with a black, or maybe even we go, no, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the same red and I'll just darken it. So that's giving me a nice gradient from the dark to the light. And if I decide I want it the other way around, I can just move this around. This is so flexible. Look, we can set it so it's going light on the left to dark on the right, or we can set it light at the top, dark at the bottom. If I feel I want that dark to be a little bit darker, I think this is super powerful. Okay, so we've now got this gradient background. Now what do? We want to bring the camera in over the top of it. So one of our other overlays, if you remember me saying this when we walked around the navigation, we can have a camera overlay, and that is going to bring me in. Now, again, same pencil symbol. This time it's saying, what's the video source? And I'm choosing this cam link. This is my camera. Or actually what I would typically be doing is bringing in camera A. And in fact, I will in this case because I want you to be able to download this and I don't want it going looking for a cam link. So let's say camera A. And what that means is I need to just bring up this camera switcher so that I can say down here that camera A is not this other cam link that isn't attached, but it's this one here. And what you're going to do when you download this is yours will be looking blank in here and it will say camera A. So you're going to open up the camera switcher. You can adjust how it looks over here. You can have it this way around if you want. You're going to camera A, you'll click there and choose whatever it is that you want to do as your main camera. And then all the places that I've set this to be camera A, you're going to be able to bring your camera in. So I'll close that back down for now. I just want you to see that's how you'll get to it your end. And again, I'll take off these controls so that we can brand this up how we want. Now, we can click the pencil. Notice that that moved there because we're controlling the red one in the background and we're also controlling this one. One thing I didn't do, let me just show you this. If I were to create a new blank scene now, source blank, we start again with this being a black background because notice that when I come back, there's nothing there in overlays in this scene. When I come to this one, it's under this setting of showing the current scene, not in all scenes. If I click this rectangle and drag it down to showing background, then when I come into this new scene and I choose source blank, it's kept this red. So that's always going to be in the background of every new scene that I create that's got a blank source. Okay. And now I can choose, I can still click this pencil symbol here for camera A, and I can either keep this radius rounded like that, or if I feel, do you know what, I quite fancy it squared off at the edges, I can do that. I can take the border right down to a pixel there. I can take it off altogether. So some nice options here. You can get creative with this. I'm going to leave that set to that 4-pixel frame. Again, I can put a shadow around it if I want. So now you can see that bottom right corner has a shadow coming on and off. We can adjust it with lots of things there. I think that's enough. And actually, so quite quickly, we've gone from a default plain scene to one with a lower third or one like this. Now, what I did with this camera, when I clicked on this camera, shape on here by default will be set to wide, which is the size of the screen that we're in. I always like to take this, and again, sorry, let me just quickly show you circle. So if I wanted to appear in a circle on here, and maybe I'm bringing other things on screen. That's how we do this. Instead of hitting that pencil, I'm going to come down here so you can see another way of accessing it. I like to choose custom, which will allow me to make this whatever size I want. And all I'm doing is I'm going to that blue frame that it's given me, and I've got it locked in as that. So that's me in a frame. If I want to bring that text box in that we had for the lower third, I can actually click it down here, and I can do Command C. I can come into my new scene, and I can go Command V, and it's now just brought me that same overlay from the last one and brought it into this one. All right, not going too quick, are we? You've got some good options in here. If you decide you don't want it, then I just hit the I symbol and that's gone. So I really like this way of bringing in your camera and doing frames and things, and you can get some nice consistent branding. So remember what we did on here is we adjusted that background. I'm thinking that you're going to be having this for yourself. So click on that little setting. We've got this. It could have been a solid color. We've got a gradient. You can actually do this motion where that gradient will just rotate around. See how that's moving? I'm not a big fan of that because I think it might be a little bit distracting. I do like the gradient, but you just click on there. You choose a couple of your own, or do like I did and just click on your default color. Then on the second one, I went for the same color and just pulled the, made it a bit darker. All right, so you're seeing how we got to what we did. Now, what else can we do then? I think we could do a screen share overlay. So maybe on my screen share, if I'm walking through this presentation and I want to reference a website that I've got open, let's have a go at that. Now I am going to clone this one this time. So I make sure that I'm clicked up here, and then this little symbol of the two boxes means duplicate. And you see it says copy of, and this one is going to be my screen share. So what I can now do, remember this was a custom size on this little image of me. So I can push that up to the top there, and that's going to say as my little picture in picture. So if you've used other tools where it lets you do screen shares and pictures in pictures, you'll know that it's very limited, but there is nothing that I can't do with this. It can be square, round, put a frame on it, do all these different things. So that's my camera that's still up there in the top corner. Now I want to bring in a screen share overlay. So I have an option down here for a screen share. When I click on it, it'll bring it into the middle. Again, we click on the little pencil to get into the settings, and it's saying, what exactly do I want to do a screen share of? And it will give me options for any applications that are open and visible on my desktop. Now you can see I've got 3 displays attached to this, so it's given me an option to choose those 3. I can choose something from Ecamm that is open, or I'm coming to Chrome and I'm actually wanting to just pull in this window that I've got open over here. This would be quite typical for how I'm wanting to demonstrate this. Again, that shape, I want to choose custom, which means that I can adjust the shape of what's coming through. And so I could put this up here, and remembering that those little boxes that appeared down there, I think we could do something like this, or I could push the screen share up to there, and then I can adjust where I sit on here, maybe up there, maybe down here, maybe slightly overlapping. I want to just bring this one to the front. Okay, you can see the power of this. And then over here, I'm bringing in, I've got sitting on my other monitor at the side, this is my Ecamm Live Academy. And I can set that to fit on there. And then as I scroll this up and walk through this, I'm doing my screen share presentation. Now, this is really cool. We can hit Option on these edges. I don't really want you seeing my browser and this space around it. So when I get to these edges, instead of it moving it and adjusting the size, if while I'm there, I press the Option key on my keyboard and then I drag it down, look, it now crops it. And so I can get rid of the edges that I don't want. Nice and slow like this. And look at that. That looks like I've brought in a presentation, and I can then move my Chrome window over to the side of me, and I'm walking through this at the same time. I can keep resizing that. I might need to do just a little bit of tweaking. because obviously this shape that I've got here is restricted by the shape that it's coming in, but that looks pretty good to me. And maybe I just decide that I'm going to sit fiddling with this for ages. But maybe I just decide, okay, I'm going to put myself back up in this corner here so it can see me on camera. But now, remember, this is in a scene. So I've just come from this one over here and I say, right, now let me take you over to my website and just walk you through this. I click a button and here we are. Remember how we set that animation as well that let my lower third appear and slide in from the left? I can do the same with these camera boxes. So I can have a transition that flies in from the left. So look what happens. We come from this scene here and I say, why don't I show you my website? That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now, if I feel I'm a little bit out in this image over here and I think I'd like to just zoom in on me up in that picture in picture. Well, let me bring up my camera effects, this little magic wand, and in my camera effects, I can zoom and pan. I think I showed you this, and look, when I click on that, it's now zooming in on that box. I can push it up a little bit so I don't feel quite as lost sitting back there. So it's only affected that window. It hasn't affected me in this scene. So I click over there, and when I come bouncing in, you can see that I'm a decent size. And then off I go, working through this. Okay, so I like that. I think that's looking all right. You're going to get this to play with. You can make it your own, and I'd be really interested actually to see what you come back with. I do think I'm looking at these sort of edges on here and thinking, yeah, I could do with... I want the spacing to be even up there. That doesn't look too bad. Right, so that's a screen share overlay. Now, I'm going to come back to this one, which was me in here, and we're going to build a scene for an interview. We're imagining we're going to have a guest come on, whether it's a live or we're recording it. Maybe it's for a podcast and we don't actually want it to go live. We just want to use Ecamm to capture it, edit it, and then we can upload it later. So I'm choosing this one again, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to say me and guest one. Here I go. We're going now to take this bottom left and drag it this way. I still want to say in that blue area. And I think that looks close. Now, something I haven't showed you yet is that you can clone or duplicate an overlay. So while my cursor's on here, again, I can click Option and I can drag this over and look, it's just made another version of me. Now, I'm wanting to get this lined up just right, especially because I know I'm going to be giving you it. So the way I do this is to just tweak these to get them, still want that a little bit wider there. So it's about there. This one's slightly bigger than the one below it. I'm doing this so you won't have to. Isn't that good of me? So according to this, they're pretty much the same size there. No one's going to notice that, apart from you now. Okay, so our blue boxes are there around the edge. We've now got two of me in this scene, but we want this one not to be me, but guest one. Now, let me just bring this up. If you haven't got the interview turned on, then you're not going to get an option for your guests. So do just turn this on first of all. Then what you'll find is on this scene here, remember we come to this pencil and it's saying, what is the source? We don't want it to be camera A. We want it to be guest one. And so it will sit like this for now. And I'm talking away over here. I'm doing my live and my guest is sitting in the green room, not on scene yet, not on camera yet. And then I say, right, I'm just going to introduce my guest and here they are. I click on my next scene and there they are appearing next to me. Now, we're not going to get into it in this video, but when you bring a guest in, you've got a link down at the bottom of here. That's what you would send to them. They would come in ideally on Chrome. They don't need to be on a Mac. They can actually come in from a mobile device, but you really want to make sure they're on good internet if you're doing this. So they will appear as a little camera in that interview area. And when they come on, you'll have an option to assign them to guest one. So then wherever you've created this placeholder called guest one, they're going to appear in that box. All right. Now, if we want to have two guests on screen here, I can hit this duplicate key here and I'm going to say me plus guest 1, 2, something like that. And what I'm going to do is just drag me across, drag guest 1 across, and we're going to do option. Did you remember that? Drag it across, and we're lining these up. Now, this is slightly doing this by eye. That is in the center. Give me just a minute to have a fiddle with this, because if I get this right, then it means that you're not going to have to do this, because you're just using the profile that I'm going to give you. So there we go. That didn't take too long, actually. We've now got guest 1, hit the pencil. That one is guest 2. Now, you've seen this in action. If we wanted to, we could completely change this around, and we could be in circles. We could have 3 circles along there. Command Z. I could change the size of this, and we could then there could be space along the top to put a title in. But for now, I'm just giving it this way around. So we've created frames for me on my own. I've got me plus 1 guest. Or if I've got 2 different guests on, then we do it this way around. Now, it might be that we've got, more typically, you're going to have just 1 guest on at a time. Maybe during that interview, you want your guest to have the screen while you come off. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate this scene that was me, and we'll call it guest 1 in frame. And simply all I've got to do is hit that pencil symbol and change the source from camera A to guest 1. This is why these placeholders are really powerful, because I can prepare this in advance, and certainly in this scenario, I'm going to build this and send it to you. You can download it on your end, and when it comes through, you just double click it and it will open up here, and it's going to have this exact branding around it. It won't be me in the middle. It'll be asking you for your camera, but it will be preset for guest 1 or guest 1 that way, and guest 1 and 2. You get the idea. We could duplicate this down then, so if guest 2 wanted to be themselves on camera, you could do that. If you felt you wanted to bring yourself as a little picture-in-picture to sit up in the top corner, you can do. I don't think we want that in this case. I quite like it that, this gives you a chance to let your guest come on. Now, something else that we haven't really looked at. I'm careful to not overwhelm you with things in here. I'm trying to go as slow as I can, but I want to let you, I don't want you to have questions of, if this isn't clear and we haven't really given all the different scenarios. So another thing that would happen if you were interviewing with a guest is microphones. Now, if I'm just on at the start and I'm introducing my guest who's still sitting there in the green room at the side, they don't want their microphone on while it's just me. So see down here, I can mute the interviewee. And then when I come up to guest in frame, I can mute myself. And then when I come to this one, both of us are unmuted. So this would give me a chance to push them on this frame. I could be just looking at some comments, typing away, and you're not going to hear that tapping or, So can you see that again? You've got complete control over this. So what have we done? We've got ourselves, we've kind of jazzed this up from a standard camera feed that you would get. We've put a lower third on that you can use, brand, change that text around. I like this framing. And again, you take this and have a play with it. We've got a guest. We've got a guest alongside us, 2 guests. We've got a screen share. Yeah, I think we've got plenty to get going with. Now, we haven't brought on an image or any sort of text and titles. So could I just duplicate down? Let's have me in frame. I'm going to call this one me in frame plus title. What do I mean? Well, maybe I'm running through 3 points in a presentation and I just want to have that appear on screen. Now, there's different ways that I could do this. What I tend to do is just use a simple text box. And let's just say point number 1. And that could appear on screen. I could just have it down here if I wanted to. We could set this one to transition fly in from the bottom. Actually, what I tend to do in reality, I would just have this with a black background and maybe not be as fancy. Fairness, I might not even have a border on that. But if I would just, I can adjust it like this. I do want that to be centered. So if I edit the text and I choose it and I say center the text, then I can snap this to the middle. There's my blue line. And as I adjust the size of this, so this could be, a nice simple way of, again, let's take those controls off. When I turn this on and off as an overlay, then when I click here and I say, this is point number 1, and I'm going to talk about this, and then I can click it to make it disappear again, carry on talking. And then I can duplicate in the same way that we duplicated scenes. I can duplicate these. I can either do Control C to copy, Control V to duplicate it down. And in this second one, you just retype over the top of it. So this is point number 2. Sorry, it's a bit basic, isn't it? But you can see what I'm trying to do here. And now I can just click between these. Point number 1, I'm getting ready for so here's my second point, and I can click point number 2. And that appears below. If you want, as I say, you can completely do what you want with this. You can adjust that. So maybe you want that title to, you're going to stay at the top and you want that title to appear down below. Maybe you decide just want to be coming halfway across and you want this text box to appear to the side of you, and you could have it appear. It could be no background and no border. So we literally are just creating these bullet points that could sit alongside as you're doing your presentation. And that again, we could set if you wanted to fly in from the right. So I could come from me here. I could jump across to this one. And was it point number 2 or 1? There it is, point number 2, could fly in from the side. I'm really hoping that you're looking at this and going, that's excellent. My mind's starting to go with ideas here. I want to put this back. Personally, I like it like this. So I think point number 1 is still where I started down there. Yeah, totally up to you to play with this. I just want you to see different ways that you can use this and bring these kind of bullet points and things in. I'm excited to see actually what some of you will come up with this. Do be sure to let me know. What else can I show you? We haven't brought in any image overlays. So let me duplicate this again. But in this one, I'm going to delete out. Oh, they're both in here. Let's take, for tidying, I do like to tidy. I'm taking those out of here. And maybe I want to bring an image on. Now, one use that we've got for bringing on image overlays, we've done this in the past when we actually on our YouTube channel will go down our comments, and if we see a question that we think, oh, that's a great content for a video, I would take a little screenshot of the comment and then I'll bring it on screen. So I can literally just drag that comment, drop it onto the screen here, and pop this in front of me in this case. Put it into the center here. Can you remember? There we go. We line that up, use the pencil. I think let's just put a little border around this. And I think we'll stick with the white. We want that to be 4, so it's the same size as that outside one. We could round it off, but because we've got square edges on the outside, I'm going to leave it like that. And I want this to transition in from the right. Actually, not spin. I want it just to fly in from the right. I'll let you play with all these options. So again, if I've come from a scene that was showing me in frame to, I haven't renamed this yet, have I? I come from this one, and now I come to this new scene where I bring in this question in here. And then when I come back out, that's it done. All right, so that's a way, it's an example of an image that you could bring on screen here. It could be actually a photo, and I can actually click here and say replace asset. And it will let me go off and choose something else. This is just one of my support call images on here. So it'll bring that in instead, and it's kept that same branding. I can realign it. Yeah. All right, so image overlays. You could bring on a PDF document in the same way. And I'm just trying to keep these file names me in frame. In fact, if we're going to stay with this frame, you could just delete off the frame bit. But that could say image. If I wanted to play a video on here, then I would actually from this point to bring a video in, the video needs to be the background itself. So I could just grab a video, drop that onto here.
Hello, my name is Darren Lee and I've just completed.
So you can see there, I can bring a video in, and by default, it will mute my microphone because typically when I want to share a video.
Hello. my name is Darren Lee.
I want to mute myself. So that video does come in at full size on there. If you want to bring this in and get it in a frame, then we need to bring it in a different way that's a little bit more advanced. But if you want to bring a video in, that's the way, or that's the main way to do it. So I think that's kind of it. We've covered a lot there. There's been a lot of overlays that you've got here. So you've got, I'll bring this one down and you can rejig the order like this as well. So you've got me with a lower third. You've got me in a frame with a title, me in a frame with an image. You've got guest one in a frame, me plus guest one, me plus two. We're doing a screen share. So you'll find that when you download this, it will ask you what you want that source to be. What is it that you want to show? So you select in there what of those active windows you want it to be. And then if you've got a video down there. So I reckon that's plenty for you to have a go with. There are a lot of options still to cover. We could bring your phone in to share the screen. We could bring your phone in as a camera. You could share your iPad and actually do a presentation from that. We could bring a PowerPoint or a keynote presentation in. I just don't want to overwhelm you by bringing all of these things in. We've got other videos that can help you with that. And I think this is enough for you to go and have a play with. So we've put in the description a link to this. You can head over there, pop in an email, and it will download this profile for you. Then you can copy it, change colors around, the shapes and things like that. What I should have said to you is within these scenes, once you've got it how you want it, there's a little padlock symbol up here, because if I accidentally touch this, whoop, I've just messed it all up. And I can do, no, I can't. I thought I could do Command Z. Sometimes I can get it there. Let me put it back so that I haven't messed this up for you. But if I want to make sure that I don't mess this up, I can just hit the padlock symbol there. And now I can't accidentally move it. And it will say, look, scene is locked. So I won't lock it, else you're not going to be able to do anything with it. But have a go with this. You know, you can't break this. Go and have a play with it. You can download it again, you know, just install it again, rename over the top of it. You do need, as I say, to have interview open for that guest feature to appear. Yeah, drag in images, drag in videos. You can play music over the top of it. Lots of cool things that you can do with this. And to change these scenes, just to make sure it's super clear, you're not clicking on the text. You're clicking on the little thumbnail at the side of it to decide which scene you're in. Now, in the next video, we've just summarized this little series and given you some thoughts and pointers for what you could do next. So why don't you check out that video? I'll be waiting over there for you.